Sorry, I was out here, right? I was commentating the Christmas Clash. Now, if you could guess by the name, it was during Christmas. I'll stop. But this spell blew my pants away, okay? As you can see, I'm not wearing pants. I am now subjected to wearing skirts. Hey guys, what is up? AwesomeTheSauce here. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. And welcome to the video, bro. This is about to be lit. You know, a long time ago, not really that long ago, I just can't count months. Like a few months ago, I made this video called Top 5 Useless Spells. And I thought, you know, why not follow that up with Top 5 Underrated Spells? Because in my opinion, underrated is really kind of the opposite of useless. Not useful. I mean that's probably the actual opposite, but underrated is more fun because these are the spells that, based on my experiences in PvP, I've seen really should be used a lot more, and they're ignored a lot. And because they're ignored so much, a lot of people are losing matches that they technically could avoid, and they're also losing matches that they could actually win just by using this one simple card that they just either didn't know how to use it, or it was so rare that they've just never seen anyone use it, and they just thought it was not good. So, let's start off with number 5, guys. Now, this one is obviously the most rated of all of these. So, you know, don't be too surprised by this one. This one is not meant to be like, oh my god, whoa, that spell exists? Ha! No, but this one is still an extremely useful spell that's often overlooked. And that is my friend Empower over here. Let's see if we can get a better look. Okay, I only have one Empower. That's great. But yeah, Empower is definitely one of the best spells in this game ever. And it's unfortunate that Death can't use it. But we have a great spell for Death in this. So stay tuned even if you're Death, because I think you'll enjoy this a lot. So what Empower really does, a lot of people are going to think that it just does damage for 3 pips, but the real thing it does, especially for schools that blade and get hit with the weakness, what it does, it's basically a want it that clears weaknesses, clears feints that might be on you, and not to mention it gives you those 3 pips. Now, that sounds a lot better, you know? Empower can be used to clear out bad jujus and weaknesses. It can be used to clear out feints. If you ever have someone who's just feint stacking against you, this is a perfect move to do against them. It's definitely not the best spell, but I've seen people, especially like, let's say you're Myth, right? You can Medusa Empower, and you'll have so many more pips to do stuff with than you would have had if you're just empowered and then bladed or something, you know? So, it's definitely really good for combos, but you got to be careful when to use them. Another super useful part of Empower, which I think is really good for low levels. This is why I think all low levels should always carry Empower, even though I don't sometimes, you know, it's kind of sad, but I really should. It clears out new pips. Now, a lot of people don't realize that. Now, if you have low pip chance, I mean, that's fine. I mean, look, this wizard right here, 101 pip chance, but it's clearly possible that I could have a strategy where I can't have that pip chance. If I get new pips and I really need more for combos, and this is really especially true for schools that rely on a lot of pips, especially like Death, Myth, Fire can do a lot with a lot of pips, even Life. Having a lot of pips is key. For those schools, this is great. It clears off new pips, and as you can see, it can be used in ways that many people don't give the spell enough credit for. Now, we're going to move on to number 4, which is also on my Balance Wizard. And I've made videos on this, and a lot of people are still skeptical about it, but I still think it works. And it is the spell right over here, number 4, Chimera. Now, Chimera is definitely super underrated. Now, why do I say that? I think it's super underrated simply because it seems like 9 pips for something that just doesn't do that much damage. It's just clear damage. Like, you know, sauce. Why would I use this? Well, for one, the reason a lot of people actually use this is because, first off, if you use a tri-blades, right? Each of those 340 hits gets bladed up. It's just like a 35 balance blade to a hit that does a ton of damage. Now, per pip, this does a ton of damage. Simple as that. There's no way around it. But if you're faced with a tower shield, there's a great chance that you could get rid of it using this. You know, it's a great way to hit multiple times. It's like a super OP Minotaur, except it's even, and you can boost it up. Now, one of my favorite strategies with this is to spam different types of spirit traps. Now, this works definitely when people set against balance, but it also works for balance wizards even when they just have an opponent that tanks a lot and heals a lot, and you just want to one-shot them. What I do is I spam traps, different types of traps. Now, this deck doesn't really hold well to that because it's my quick match deck, or something like that. I don't know, something like that. But you can use different types of spirit traps, and I'm sure I keep some in my side. See, you use this kind of spirit trap and start stacking up blades and basically hit them with the Shrike up. There's literally nothing they can do against that. The only way I've ever been countered using that strategy, if I play it super smart, is Enfeeble Pets and Guardian Spirit. And even those have ways you can get around them. You know, the Enfeeble Pet, obviously you don't need to carry Storm Dispel, but a great way to make sure that Enfeeble isn't a problem is just by casting the blades after the traps. So you have the blades on for a very little amount of time, and if you have more than a few traps, then you might not even need the blades really to execute the Chimera strategy. So guys, we're gonna get to the top 3 now, and these get extra juicy, so stay tuned. So guys, number 3. Yep, I didn't forget it. Nope, number 3. Don't tell anybody I forgot, please. Number 3 is definitely one of like a set. You know, it's not really one card, but it's actually a set of cards. So if you guys are wondering exactly what I'm talking about sacrifice minion cards. Now, these are definitely overlooked. I think these are some of the most overlooked spells in game, and that's why I'm making this list. Now, before I even show you where you can get these, let me give you one example, and I think your mind will be blown. Now, this is an example of a card that you can get from a treasure card pack, and basically it's an amplified version of it. So basically what this does, for 1 pip, you can sacrifice a minion of any value and get 5 pips out of it. Now, why is this so, like, you know, why is this revolutionary? Now, see, that's the important thing. Well, let's say I have a Golem pet, right? Let's say I'm on a Myth Wizard, and not a Golem pet, a Golem minion, and I summon it. Well, for 0 pips, I can sacrifice this, get 5 pips, and if my minion decided to attack the minion that round, if my opponent decided to attack the minion that round, they basically have to pass, especially like if you're first. If you sacrifice a minion and they attack something that doesn't exist anymore, then you get 5 pips and a free round. Just think about that. Just imagine for 0 pips getting 5 free pips and stunning the opponent. Now, where do you get these? Well, you have 2 options, you know. One of them, you can train it from here. You know, there's a lot. See, I actually haven't even trained mine yet. So, this one, I could sacrifice for 350 minions. 350 minions. I rock at this game. But look, some of the spells give even more. You know, the balance one, I believe, gives the most for 500 health. All you have to do is sacrifice a minion, you get 500 health. And these come in TC versions. If you get a good version of it, you can do a lot. And you could also get the death version and not even kill the minion. And instead, when it's low on health, sacrifice it for that much, and you could have sacrificed it earlier, especially like if you have a Myth minion with 700 health, you could do that. You can also sacrifice for pips, which is a really awesome way of bamboozling your opponent. So yeah, these are very complex spells. I mean, they require really good timing, but let's say you're a Myth and you need to heal, well, you finally have a way. Let's say you really want to bamboozle your opponent. Well, you have a way. Now, if you're really strapped for pips and you want to get them quick, this is even better than an Empower. If you think about it, if you have a minion, this is way better than an Empower. It's 2 more pips. It's an entire extra power pip. You can literally go from 0 pips and a minion to an Orthrus the next round, because you also gain an extra pip after. It's crazy how overpowered it is, in my opinion. I definitely plan on trying to use this on a Myth Wizard for a low-level strategy, but until then, you know, we're gonna go to numero 2, and it's a very spicy one. Number 2 is actually the one spell on this entire list that I actually don't have on any wizard, and that's because it's a high-level myth spell, and that's one high level that I actually don't have. But it's definitely deserving of this list, because it's the most unique spell in the entire game. Simple as that. Even number 1 isn't as unique as this spell, and that's why I definitely think it belongs on this list. Now, if you guys are wondering what I am talking about, bam! The spell that you see on the screen right now is called Dimension Shift. And now what Dimension Shift does is that it swaps all hanging effects, every single thing that's on you, and trades it with a minion. Now I know there's another minion spell, so to Sauce, why are you wasting my time? What? Well, Sauce, why are you wasting my time? Well, Mickey Mouse, just sit down, okay? Just sit down, all right? I'll explain to you why. There are a lot of strategies where weakness spamming is a really great way to lock you out. The problem with weakness spamming, like getting weakness spammed, is that there's no mass cleanse. There's no way to get rid of all your weaknesses in one go. Or is there? No, there is. The one way, the one mass cleanse that actually exists, and mass cleanse ward that actually exists, is Dimension Shift. And basically, let's say you're going against a Juju spammer and you have a billion Jujus on you, it will not matter. You will basically just trade all those Jujus over to a minion, any minion that you summon. This is why Myth, if they're first against a Juju, impossible. It's literally impossible for them to lose. Now, if you're a Myth Wizard and you want to at least leave it down to a 50-50 of going first or not against a Juju, this is a great way to win. Even going second against a Juju, if you can reshuffle lock them and use a good Dimension Shift, you can still win the game. There are a lot of options for Myth against Juju, and a lot of people don't realize that. Juju spamming is really, really good against some schools, but Myth is definitely not one of them. And since it's so underrated, I think Myth deserves a serious round of applause for this spell. A lot of people should use this. It's so OP if you know how to use it properly. And sometimes, you know, you can just look at the Juju spammer in their face. You know, you zoom up all up in their face and say, how does it feel? You mad? You mad, bro? Bro, you mad? You know, like you can really get on their nerves, and that's what I like to do to Juju spammers. I don't know about you, but that's what I like to do. So guys, let's get on to numero uno. Guys, number one is definitely, in my opinion, it's part of an experience. All right, I was out here, right? I was commentating the Christmas Clash. Now, if you could guess by the name, it was during Christmas. I'll stop. But this spell blew my pants away, okay? As you can see, I'm not wearing pants. I am now subjected to wearing skirts because it blew my pants away. Are you excited? I am. All right, I'm sorry. It's my man's right over here. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. All right? I know what you guys are thinking. What even is this? You know, it's just some guy who had an extra cheeseburger. All right? It's just, that's all it is. I haven't even trained this spell. That's how underrated it is. And in my opinion, it is the best shift spell. And I'm going to tell you guys why. This spell is extremely good because it fixes one of the worst schools in PvP to the point where it becomes one of the best schools, and you just don't expect it. Now, what school am I talking about? Obviously, I'm talking about Death. Now, I totally get it, Death Wizards. You know, you have strategies that totally make you hone in PvP. You know, I'm not saying you don't. The Juju strategy absolutely wrecks. But let's say you're an offensive Death. You know, there are ways you can win that people don't even consider, and this is one of them. The reason Death is not as good at 1v1 is because when they blade up, that's the only way they can churn out that damage. They need to blade up. They immediately get stopped by someone who set shields. And the problem is, once they set shield, their drains are taken out of the equation, and drains is definitely what sets Death apart from other schools. The fact that you can't hit through a shield totally ruins everything. So when people blade stack, generally what they go for is a Skeletal Dragon. And the problem with Skeletal Dragon is that it can either be shifted or triaged or even just flat up predicted. You know, people force you into a Skeletal Dragon to the point where they can play around the fact you need 8 pips to hit, because ain't no one gonna use a poison. Ain't nobody gonna use a poison with so many blades, you know? It just doesn't make sense. But this spell, my man, this spell right over here changes all of that. Now, let me tell you how it works. Let's say they cast a life and death shield, right? If it's a life and death shield, it'll do the damage, it'll remove one of their blades, and it'll remove the death shield. However, if it's the other type of set shield, I know what you're thinking. What if it's the other type of set shield? If it's a myth and then the death? Well, the myth attack gets rid of the myth shield, and then it removes the death shield. So no matter what kind of set shield that you're put up against as a death, this spell totally overcomes it. It's really the perfect spell for death. And you know, it really, the reason I love it so much is because it can be used for both types of set shields in a way that's actually really easy. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. What if they cast multiple set shields? Well, then you need to use either a Shrike or a Shatter. You know, that doesn't change. But a lot of people will be very content just using one set shield, just because they know that a skeletal dragon can be something they'll play around. And it's something you can work with really, really easily, especially if you're first. They'll have a false sense of security. And you can remove a blade, you can get rid of their shield, and you can also remove another shield, just in case you have any other, if it's a tower shield or something, and it's, you can get creative with it, and that's what I love about it. So, guys, this has been my top 5 list. Hope you guys enjoyed this list of underrated spells, and I really want to see these used more in PvP. That's really what the essence of this is. If you're starting PvP, I recommend using some of these to blow some pants away. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. So, guys, leave a like if you enjoyed the vid. I want 200 likes right now. I mean, just click the like button. Just do it. Do it. I'll stop. But yeah, just smash that like button, guys. Yeah. Can we get a billion likes? I'm sorry. Just 200 likes will be fine. I mean, I don't need a billion. And if someone hasn't told you're awesome today, they doing something wrong. So stay awesome, bruh. Yeah.